Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Any Length Retreat webinar. Tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Patrick Hensley. Mr. Hensley,
Howdy, folks.
tonight.
How are y'all? Thanks for having me. Very honored. Appreciate it.
So tonight we'll be talking a little bit about some of the work you do, as well as this general topic of just having fun in recovery and the importance of that. So if you'd like to start us off with maybe a general introduction about yourself and kind of who you are and what you do.
Excellent. I can do that. Thank you. Sure. I'm Patrick Hensley. Originally from West Texas, from Midland. Moved to Austin in '98. Went to University of Texas. Took them.
Nice, all right.
And after that, I moved to Mexico. I sold real estate in Mexico, and that's where the tequila grabbed me. Got on tequila really hard in Mexico. Found out I couldn't stop. Came back up to Texas. I'd been there. I was in Mexico for almost a decade, just under 10 years, and moved back to Texas to go to rehab. Went to rehab near Central Texas, just west of Waco and Dallas, and went to a 90-day facility there. When I got out, I went to sober living. And when I was in sober living, I remember asking people all the time, like, how come we don't do this? I don't know. How come we don't do this? I don't know. It'd be a lot of fun if we did this. Can we do this? Well, no. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of things you could do to really make this a lot more fun. I wonder why no one does that. But never really thought too much of it. Then I started working at all men's 12-step treatment facility. And I had some really good time, one-on-one time with the boss, the head man. He gave me an hour every Friday.
Wow.
He was a busy guy, but he gave me 1 hour every Friday. And I'd always talk to him. It's like, what's something that I could do to help men in Central Texas achieve long-term sobriety? What is needed? What's needed the most? And we talked about a lot of different things, an IOP, a PHP. We talked about sober living. We talked about a residential treatment facility. And he said probably the biggest need that they had was for sober living homes, good sober living homes. So I started to look further into that, and that's when I opened up and started Hensley House Sober Living Home, which I lived in and managed for the first 2 years that it was open. And by getting to do that myself, I was able to implement those things that I would ask another sober home, how come we don't do this? And I would just get, the deer in the headlights look. And I was able to implement those things at Hensley House Sober Living Home. And part of that's been having fun. And that's what I've become quite good at, which is probably why I'm here talking to you. That's the brief version. You got the super brief version.
Well, that's fantastic, man. That's a lot of what I wanted to talk about tonight is that inspiration behind starting sober living, that is based around these different principles. So what would you say has been, when you look at guys who've been successful coming through your houses, what are some of the things you see them lean into or do that kind of lead to some long-term recovery stuff?
Sure. Well, one of the biggest things is avoiding relationships.
Cool.
I think you might have thought I was going to say they rush out and have fun. One of the first things I really take a close look at is relationships. So I went to rehab, and then I went to sober living, and I lived in sober living for almost a year. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to be a manager of a sober house, and the house I was living in already had a manager. So then I went and managed a different house for a year. And then I opened up Hensley House, and I lived in and managed it for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So I was under the roof of a sober living home for almost 4 straight years.
Wow.
And let's say ballpark, I witnessed 100 relapses. I'd say 95 of them were because of a girl or because of a romantic interest of some kind. Yeah. And so that's one thing. The guys that take our advice and take our suggestions on, guys, let's just leave off getting in any kind of relationship for your first year. Take this time to concentrate on you. Those guys do really well. But then kind of closer to what the topic of this meeting is, are the guys that, here's a way that I put it to them. I said, all right, look, guys, whenever we were out running and gunning, we had different methods of having fun. Back in the day, you get a case of beer and fun will ensue, right? You go get an 8-ball and fun will ensue. Go to the club, go to the bar, and fun will ensue. When you don't know what to do, go over to your buddy's house and get a bunch of beer, call people over and have a party. That's the way that we had fun. Well, we've chosen not to live like that anymore. And so we got to learn new ways to have fun and new habits of how to have fun. And so I say, guys, this is what I have my house meetings with the guys at Hensley House, every Sunday. And I'd say, guys, you need to learn how to book fun like you would book a dentist appointment. and to go, you can't wait for someone to, like a party to drop in your lap. That's not going to happen anymore. Yep. Before you just get a random phone call, hey, we're all meeting over at Billy's, let's go. Like, sweet, all right, let's go. Now you have to be proactive. You have to be proactive about going out and searching these things out. So Wednesday at 6:30 when you get off work, you go to the batting cages and you put that in your phone. Wednesday at 6:30, batting cages. Just like, Tuesday at 4:30, I have a dentist appointment. Like, you put it in your phone like a reminder. Yeah. And then once you do that, you talk to some other guys. Especially if you're living in a sober house, you got, 10, 11, 12 other guys with you. Say, hey, who wants in? But we're going to the batting cages. And you book it. You actually have to book it. Like, waiting for things just to randomly happen to come out, you'll wait all day. And then this all feeds back into what's one of the biggest fears we have when we got sober. I can at least speak for myself. Whenever I first got sober, I remember thinking, like, great, okay, this is nice. I'm not going to die of cirrhosis. I was an alcoholic. Like, I'm drinking tequila. I was like, I'm not going to die of cirrhosis. Yeah. However, there goes all the fun. Yeah. Like, I'm never going to another Longhorn football game, because why go if I can't have a flask of whiskey in my boot? What's the point? Golf? Nope. Forget playing golf. I don't even know if it's legal to float the river without drinking. I better call before we go. So I'm thinking, there goes everything fun. Like, yay, I guess I'm happy I'm not going to die of cirrhosis, but also, like, I'm pretty bummed out because there goes having any fun. And so I know that that's a common fear that a lot of guys have, guys and girls have when they first get sober. It's like, wow, well, got sober now, but that's yay, good for that. I'm not going to be Narcan in the back of an ambulance again. I'm not going to be overdosed and I'm not going to die of cirrhosis, but well, here comes some pretty glum life. I remember thinking, like, all the fun's going to be gone because I couldn't imagine doing anything without drinking. All the things that were fun, I thought were fun because of drinking. I wasn't going to the football game to go to the football game. That was secondary. I was going because it gave me an excuse to drink.
Totally.
I would go and drink a lot, and I happened to hit this little white ball around the green field while I was drinking. I'm drinking all day long, and I just happened to be on a tube on the Comal River. The event itself became secondary, but when I'm a pretty outgoing guy. And when I was in sober living, I remember going out and doing these things because I wouldn't sit around. That's just not in my nature. It's not in me. I'm the same. I got two older brothers. We're all the same way. Very outgoing, always moving. And I saw that, it shocked me a little bit. I follow this big band around, jam band called Widespread Panic. All those guys around, been at 200 of their concerts all throughout college. I went all over the states traveling to go and see these guys. And the whole purpose was, at the parking lot, you fill your hand with as much drugs as humanly possible. Just everything that has letters like MDMA, GHB, ecstasy, like all these things, and cocaine, and get as much as you possibly can, LSD, mushrooms, take it all, go see this concert, and the whole time while you're there, make sure you've got a good buzz and you're drinking enough, you're smoking enough pot. And I remember thinking, when I got out, they had a concert, and I went to it, and I remember thinking, like, God, we'll see how this is going to be.
Yeah.
This is one of my defining moments of early recovery, and I went, and I had a complete blast. It was awesome. It was incredible. And I didn't realize before how much time I spent at the actual concert worrying about my buzz. I wasn't even paying attention to the concert. I'm thinking, okay, what song are they going to play that's slow that I could go and run and get another drink? And which beer line has the shortest line? I better go over there. And where's that Rasta guy that had that good weed? I need to go find him because I'm running low. I wasn't even paying attention. And then I was at the show, stone sober. It was like really into the music, really into the vibe, really into the whole show and the performance. And I remember what songs they were playing. And it was like, wow, that was awesome. I thought it was going to be weird and boring and not near as cool, and then I went. It was amazing. So that's when I started to really come back. And a lot of sober living homes, I'm sure there's a good margin you can make, and it looks like it's a fast way to be able to pay off a mortgage quickly. Mm-hmm. Since I've opened Hensley House, I paid a minimum payment, and all the rest of the money goes to Six Flags, goes to the shooting, the sporting clays, goes to bowling, goes to batting cages, goes to UT, University of Texas Athletics. I would take all these guys to go do these fun activities. And we'll hop on to the next topic, but there's one other thing. I noticed this with the guys at the sober house. My stepdad he's part of the Knights of Columbus, and he won some raffle at, some pancake breakfast or something. And he got 4 all-inclusive, like green fee, cart, clubs, everything included at Falcon Head out in Lakeway. Gorgeous golf course. It's probably $200 and something a round out there. Yeah. Unbelievable golf course. And there was a couple of golfers that I had in the house. So I said, all right, me and you 3, Saturday, I'm getting us a green, tee time. We're going to go play golf. And they were kind of like, okay. I was like, that's weird. They were golfers. They told me they like golf. I think one of them even had golf clubs. And I was like, wow, that's odd. And then Saturday rolled around, and like the morning of, I'm like, hey guys, let's get going. Like, we got to go. We got to make it there. Oh, okay. Kind of dragging their ass a little bit. And we get out there, we start playing. And when we finish 18, one guy comes directly up to me right after we putted in the last putt on 18. He said, I haven't finished 18 holes in 10 years.
Wow.
He said, I've been so drunk that I haven't completed 18 holes in 10 years. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. The other guy came up and he said, I've never had this type of experience on a golf course before. My course manager was amazing. It's one of the best rounds I've ever played, and I haven't played in 3 years because I've been drinking so much. One of those 3 guys moved to Houston, but 2 of the guys met up with 2 other fellows, and so far as I know, they've played the 3rd Saturday of every month for the last 3 years.
Wow.
And they're all still sober today.
That's amazing.
And that's when I saw that happen, it dawned on me like, whoa, like it needs a push. The guys don't know. They think it's not going to be fun, and they're not going to go out of the way to do it. But when someone can give them a little incentive, a little push, when they go out and do it, it sparks a fire. Because right afterwards, they were instantly making phone calls to go play golf for other places. Yeah. And I saw what that did to them, and I saw how much they enjoyed their life. I think one of the mottos of that little nonprofit that I started is these people are going to rehab, and they're being taught how not to die. Mm-hmm. They're being taught well how not to die. But there's a big portion that's being left out, which is teaching them how to live after. That's the piece that I'm trying to show them. Hence why I called the nonprofit Not a Glum Lot. Straight out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're not glum. That's not what this is about. But it takes a push. It takes getting out there and doing it. And that's what I've really, really honed in on and gotten quite good at. And can you think of a more fun job? My job is to take people to go have fun.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a dream job. Like, I couldn't have even dreamt of this, but it's awesome. Wow. Really cool.
Well, this is inspiring stuff, man. You just touched on a lot of really awesome things that I would like to recap before we move on. So one, your advice to people in early recovery and relationships. I think you're spot on. I had a similar story. I was in sober living as a guest for a long time, as a house manager, and then in Oxford houses for over 2 years. Oh. It's a process that takes longer than people think. Yep. I think, as far as getting comfortable with yourself again, and being a person that is ready to share a relationship with someone. It takes a lot of time. But something I tell people is as soon as you start really taking care of yourself and being healthy and happy, that's the kind of people you attract into your life, Yep. And then the other one, what else did you say? There was a lot of good stuff. It was walking through that initial fear of is this going to be fun? I think in sober living, in my experience, I see, kind of people sitting around watching Netflix, and I'm in my initial reaction was man, this kind of sucks. Yeah. I don't want to do this. So I kind of, I thought back to things I liked doing as a kid. And, one of those was climbing, rock climbing. And I started going to a gym here, but I would
bouldering project.
Yeah, that's where I go. And so
yeah, this is awesome.
It's great. But I would go at 8 a.m. on a Saturday because I was so weak and self-conscious. It just felt not fitting in. I don't belong here. What am I doing here? I still look like a heroin addict, but I kept going back every week. And eventually that's where I made a ton of friendships. The guy I live with now I met through there. So it's an uncomfortable process. In the very beginning of ooh, but
a little awkward.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, it's that's what you do. And it's a part of your life. So I'm really glad you touched on that.
Doing that, it releases the same endorphins and dopamines that you used to need artificial endorphins and dopamines to handle life with.
Yeah.
When I'm dumping a gallon of tequila on myself a day, like that's all the endorphins and dopamine that I could get. And so I thought whenever you go into recovery, there goes all that. But just like you said, you found something that you enjoy doing and it released the same dopamines and endorphins in your body. Your body doesn't know the difference if you just took a drink or if you're out there rock climbing, but because the same chemicals are being released, but it's a lot healthier. And you don't crash cars and you don't come home and the locks are changed and your luggage is outside and it doesn't open at 9 and close at midnight. Like it's a lot cheaper too.
Oh yeah, definitely saved a lot of money. So you also touched on your nonprofit, Not a Glum Lot. Would you like to talk a little bit more about how that started and kind of what?
Sure, absolutely. So, excuse me. Take for example, when I would take the guys from Hensley House to go to a UT football game, you're talking $2,000 minimum. Yeah. To go up there, scalp all the tickets, get the guys in. You got to get a hot dog and a drink. Like you got to do it right if you're going to go. And it just got real expensive. And taking a whole house. Every year we do a Hensley House ski trip to Taos, New Mexico. We all go skiing or snowboarding. And do the math on the van rental, on the ski rentals, on the lift tickets, on the food, on the lodgings. It's in the thousands of dollars. Yeah. Whenever a guy would get, pardon me, when he would have a recovery birthday, the whole house gets together and we all go to Dave & Buster's. And taking 13 guys at Dave & Buster's, that's the meal, that's a $20 game card, it's $600, $700, $800. And I didn't have a problem doing it because the guys were enjoying it so much. And I definitely didn't have a problem doing it. I had this software that I use at the Hensley House. It tracks how long guys are there, where they came from. It keeps their contact information there, the family contact information. And if I had to guess, I would probably say the average length of stay at a sober living home in the Austin metro area is probably about just under 3 months. Yeah. Almost all of them have a 90-day policy. You got to come for 90 days. And then you got to take in the number of relapses that cut that number down. Because most guys in sober living, they're counting the days till they get out of there. Yeah. And then on the software, the average length of stay at Hensley House is over 9 months. Wow. I think it's about 3 times what I would say probably the average is.
Yeah, that says a lot.
The relapse rate, I would probably say half the people walk into sober living relapse. If I had to guess, just knowing other guys that own sober living, visiting other sober livings, hearing about other sober livings, and our relapse rate is 14.6%. Wow. So that means 85.4% of the men that walk through my front door stay sober for 9 months or longer. Wow. And what am I doing different? I'm taking them to football games. Like we all have curfews. We all have a mandatory number of meetings you got to go to. You got to do chores. I keep a close eye on the relationships or the lack thereof, hopefully. And I make damn sure that whenever we go, we're going to we go to the shooting range. We go to shoot sporting clays twice a month or more. We go bowling. We go to the Greenbelt. We go and see concerts, the live music capital of the world, batting cages, frisbee golf, ultimate golf, Top Golf, Peter Pan mini golf. It's a dog-friendly house. We take the dogs to the dog park. Hundreds of pickup games of everything you can imagine at the intramural fields, the flag football, soccer, basketball, softball, you name it. Like there's all these things that I go and take these guys to go and do, and they're enjoying their life in recovery. Yeah. So I did this often, and it wound up feeling like I had a giant Irish Catholic family or a big Mormon family, and everywhere I went, it's a table for 13. Yeah. Everywhere you go. And it just got to be where it was, I wanted to do more, but I couldn't afford more. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not about to up the rent because it's already at a competitive price. I'm not about to ask the parents for more money because they just drained I don't know how much money on their kid in rehab. They're not really excited to be like, oh, let's go give Billy a bunch of extra money so he can go to a concert. Yeah. They don't quite get that. Like I wanted him in there studying the big book and getting a job. Like, we do all those things. So that's where the idea of a nonprofit started, because I wanted to be able to go up to University of Texas Athletics and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is the impact that it's having. I've done it before. These guys are loving this. It's an amazing experience for them. How about you donate some tickets? Yeah. And then Skydive San Marcos. I took 15 guys skydiving. I even had some guys from other sober houses come in and join because everybody wanted to go skydiving. And so they had such a great experience that I went back, and so that's where the idea of the nonprofit came up. It was like, this is a great thing we're doing. You know, what are the facts? It's the leading cause of death for an American under 50 is overdose. Mm-hmm. Leading. That's more than smoking. It's more than car crashes. The leading cause of death is overdose. So everyone that you meet, every business owner, they've had some sort of effect on them. They've known someone, either one of their own kids or a neighbor or a friend. Everybody's had some sort of effect from that. And the leading time for death is after a period of abstinence.
Yeah.
People are getting help. People are getting off the drugs, but then they're not being taught how to live once they're off the drugs. And sure enough, their biggest fears come true, that life is glum because they don't go out and do anything. And then they don't have much of another reason to say, I know how to have fun. And then you go back to the drugs and they use the same amount they were used to, except their body's not used to it anymore and they die. Yeah. So I took those facts and I took those ideas and I started the nonprofit. And then I would go to these different businesses. I go to Top Golf and I say, this is what we're doing. Would you like to donate? And everybody's been like, yeah, that's a great thing you're doing here. We'll donate this. K1 go-kart racing. Heck yeah, we'll donate this. This place called Tires to You, awesome tire company. They said, hey, we're not going to use our suites at the Round Rock Express baseball game. It's got place for 16 people. It's all included. All your Dr. Pepper's, Cokes, and waters, and queso, and chips and dips and shrimp cocktails. It's the suite. You know, it's the luxury suite. Here, y'all go and take it. And what's nice is for them doing that, of course, they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. But having a nonprofit, I can offer them a tax. You know, it's tax deductible.
Yeah.
How much were those tickets? $1,200. Here's a receipt for $1,200 off the taxes. Wow. You know, how about the Skydive San Marcos? They donated up almost $1,000 of jumps. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is I'll blast this on social media. I'll blast it on Instagram and on Facebook. And now they're getting up to where every time I blast it, it's being seen by 40,000 roughly people. Wow. And so when I take that to the batting cages and I say, hey, first of all, it's a great cause. This is what we're doing. You know, second of all, whatever you donate, it's a tax deduction. And third, when we get out of here, we're going to blast how awesome this place is. And it's going to be seen by 40,000 people, most of whom are in Central Texas in the recovery community, which is a tight-knit community. Yep. You're going to get some business. And with those three-pronged attack, people are saying yes left and right. And what's the end result? A lot of these guys and girls that are in sober livings are out getting there and having a blast. Because what's the other problem? I've never met anybody that came out of rehab with a dime.
Yeah, so true.
No one's taking a limo out of rehab. You know, they're walking, and they don't have the money. And so it's very difficult for these guys to be able to go and afford this. Like, how great would it be to go to a concert? But if you're doing your recovery right and you're working on steps 8 and 9 when you get out of rehab, you got some financial amends to make. So you can't go and spend that $50 to go to the Paul Wall concert. You got to pay back the sterling silver you stole from your mom or the shotgun you hawked from your dad. Yeah. And so with this option, they're able to go and do these things at no cost. And gosh, after we did that, I think there's a group of people that go to Quest ATX all the time now. Mm-hmm. We took one group there and they're going constantly. We took a few people skydiving, and now they're almost got their like license. They can do free dives or solos, whatever. It's just a little spark, just a little bit, and these people are it's lighting them up. They're on fire for recovery because they're enjoying their life. If you're out there enjoying your life, why would you want to change how you feel? You don't. Yeah. And so by me taking people skydiving, it's helping curb the number of overdose by death by overdose. And all I'm doing is I'm jumping out of a plane, and we're shooting some shotguns at a clay thing in the air and throwing a big ball down an alleyway and racing some go-karts. And the impact it's had has been incredible.
It's amazing how simple of a solution that can be. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Not at all. Let's go to some Longhorn football game. Let's go have some fun. It turns out they stay sober longer. Wow. Awesome.
Well, I love that you have data on this too. That says a lot. It's like, it really brings some, truth behind it instead of just being like, yeah, I think this is a good idea. There's actual data behind it. Super cool.
Yeah. And I didn't think about any of that before, but when I started looking into getting grants,
yeah,
they want to see data. They want to see hard facts. So then I got real good at Survey Monkey, asking surveys. And did you enjoy this? Do you think this will help you stay sober longer? If I was to email you in 6 months, would you be able to, will you respond and let me know how you think this single event launched you on a different path in your recovery? And so they're responding, and it's really neat. It's incredible to watch. And again, what am I doing? Like it's not a funeral service. Like I couldn't be a mortuary guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to places like Topgolf, museums, Dave and Buster's, the bouldering projects, Cooper's Barbecue, the Trampoline Warehouse, going to these places and saying, hey, will you mind floating us some tickets so we can go have fun? And everybody's like, yeah. Austin's about it. Austin's such a great community.
Really.
So I can't imagine a more fun job. But yeah, there's a lot of paperwork and stuff that goes on in the background that's really a pain. But anytime I get down on that, I just remember, what am I doing this for? And by the way, I'm about to go spend 6 hours on the lake because Just for Fun Boat Rentals, gave us a ski boat for a weekend. Like, sweet.
That's awesome, man. Well, this has been a really refreshing conversation. I think, especially right now, which, it's kind of a topic you can't avoid. I know a lot of the stuff we've talked about involves going out places and maybe going to businesses that are closed right now. So, before the webinar started, we were talking a little bit about, quarantine hobbies and projects around the house. Do you have any advice for maybe guys that are currently in sober living and they're struggling with not being able to get out in the world, like some ways to stay strong during that time? And
Sure. Well, it's what has come to me to do has, and very few of them were an original idea. It wasn't my idea. It was just things that I see, because you take most of the companies that are fun companies, they're trying to do things virtually now.
Yeah.
Like I would have this comedian, his name is Zane Helbert. He's a known recovery comedian.
He was out at the retreat last night. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I'm the one that kind of got him. I'm the one that got him started on that. I'm like, hey, I know you can't like do your big things. Can you do a Zoom meeting? I'll put you on the big screen in the living room and all the guys will be there. And so he got like 5 or 6 of his comedians all together. They did a live Zoom meeting for these guys, and the guys were pissing themselves laughing. And it was interactive too.
Yeah.
It's a different thing when they're on a big stage and they got the thing, but this is interactive. They could ask questions and joke about things. And it was awesome. So that's one thing. Lots of bands now are doing live streams of shows. Yeah. That's a big chunk. I'm a huge live music fan, and living in the live music capital of the world. I got every app and everything on my phone that says when this person's streaming. I just went to a Jimmy Buffett concert in Key West a week ago.
That's awesome.
Dope, man. Like totally cool.
Yeah.
And another thing is doing things. So let's say you're in a sober home. I wouldn't suggest commingling a bunch of sober homes together, but you could do things together as a group.
Yeah.
This Sunday, we're going out on Lake Travis on a ski boat. All these guys are stuck together in a house.
Yeah, they're already together.
If you stay with that group, you can go do just about anything.
Wow.
So we're going to be going out on the boat this Sunday. We're going to be having a blast. When we go shooting sporting clays, it's a giant field. Like, there's no one else around you, and we're already a group as it is. So there's certain things that if you keep it to that group, you're fine going and doing. Like it's a closed window where you go and you get the little toggle switch for the skeet shooting.
Yeah.
Like you're not in any interaction with those sort of people. You got to be careful. The guys at the house, they're not going to AA meetings. They're going to Zoom AA meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, this personal interaction, that's not a good idea right now while COVID's spiking exponentially in Austin. Mm-hmm. But there's certain things, if you get creative and think about what can we do as a group. Like, I don't want to go bowling. You're inside a building with a bunch of other people. I don't want to subject my guys to that. On a boat on Lake Travis, all day. Yeah. All day. Out on a giant piece of city land property where there's not a single soul around you. We're talking about social distancing. The next closest person is half a mile away. That we can do, and we're careful. And so there's certain events that you can do. Go out to a field and bring a Frisbee. The guys in the house.
That's true. We
got a bunch of gloves and softballs. Go out and play some catch. The Greenbelt hike and bike trail. There's certain places where you could go there that there's not a bunch of people. I know I've been in Austin a long time, and I know some places where there's no one there. these some hidden places. Unfortunately, right now it's probably not the time to go to do paintball. It's probably not the time to go do pick up basketball games at the mural fields. You don't want to be doing that sort of thing. But there's lots of other things you can do in the meantime. Not lots. I take that back. It is a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a definite struggle.
Yeah.
Not a Glum Lot has been like our whole thing is group activities. So what I've been doing lately, what I'm going to start doing now is getting more people, because I have raised a lot of money. The whole first year I was a one-man show and raised over $44,000 just by myself. Man. And I'm putting together a board of directors right now. And we're getting all that going. It's been supposed to have been going since March, but quarantine came and I was like, okay, what are we supposed to do as group activities? And so it's taken a while to be able to kind of look into that. But I sent another sober living home. I got their whole group together to go to Quest ATX. Things you can do in your sober living home group, and that's been fun. That's been real fun. So there's a lot of these different. The comedians now, stand-up comedians, are all doing a lot of live stream shows.
Oh yeah.
The thing was cool about Zane is it's interactive. You personally purchase him for your house, just your guys. You get a specific code. It's not nationwide. And it's interactive. It's great.
People out along the top of the screen.
Oh yeah,
Like, oh, dude, I stayed out there late just to stick around for the show. It was so funny. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if you can hear me, Patrick. I got a little lost connection here. We'll give it a couple seconds.
There we go.
There we go. Cool. The hazards of Zoom.
Yeah.
Well, man, like I said, this has been a really great conversation. I think you have a attitude and energy that's really admirable, infectious, and we need more people like you, man. So if people wanted to find out more about Not a Glum Lot, what is y'all's website?
Gotcha. www.wearenotglum.org.
Awesome.
And then we got a Facebook page, Instagram page. Just look up Not a Glum Lot. We Are Not Glum. There's always links to different things from the Hensley House website too, but wearenotglum.org is the easiest way.
Very cool. Like I said, man, this was great. And I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor for y'all to ask me to even come and do this. Whenever you ask me, I got the warm and fuzzy. So thank you for having me. This is a great honor and a real privilege. Happy to come on, and thank you again for having me. It's a really cool thing what you guys are doing, getting this out there. Talk about being in quarantine, doing things like this. People that are stuck on their couches can now see this, what you and I were talking about before this. So kudos to you guys. Really well done to you guys for doing this, and thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Cool, man. We appreciate it. This is definitely a message people need to hear right now. So thanks again.
Totally. Thank you.
Cool. Have a good night.
You too. See ya.